Hey everyone, it's Pastor Ben. I hope you're having a great Friday morning so far. Just a quick reminder, we are having in-person services this Sunday at 10 a.m. On May 10th. And so you're more than invited to join us. We'll be practicing social distancing the entire time from the moment you walk in to the moment you sit down. We won't be greeting each other with handshake or hugs. We'll just be greeting one another with a friendly wave or smile. We'll also be trying to maintain 6 feet of distance between us and whoever we're talking to while we visit beforehand, preferably outside in the parking lot or in the fellowship hall where there's plenty of room. And then as you seat, you'll find that there are clear signs, hopefully that will help you know exactly where to sit in order to maintain 6 feet of distance between your family and other members of the congregation according to the CDC guidelines. We'll also be taking communion and offering a little differently to make sure that it's done in a way that's a little bit more sanitary than how we've done it in the past. Now, if you're high risk, if you're over the age of 65, if you have some concerns about possible exposure in these last couple weeks, or if you're just generally not comfortable with coming, and especially if you're showing symptoms of a fever or cough, then we invite you to join us online. We'll still be offering the sermon and a service in that way as well. But we're going to continue our series studying the Lord's Prayer this morning. We've been going through it line by line, seeing what elements, how we can incorporate the various elements of the Lord's Prayer into our own prayer life. And so the first line, we prayed for the Father's character, and then we moved on to pray for the Father's kingdom. Then we asked to pray for the Father's provision. Then we asked to pray for the Father's forgiveness. 2 days ago on Wednesday, we learned about what it means to pray for the Father's leading. And today I would like to end on this line, deliver us from the evil one, but deliver us from the evil one. And I would like to talk to you today about what it means to pray for the Father's protection. Now, I think as we pray for the Father's protection, we need to look at this line and we need to see what Jesus is teaching us to pray for protection from. Because Jesus teaches us to pray for protection from something that we typically don't think to pray for protection from. Most of us, as we've prayed for protection, we've probably thought to pray for protection from a virus or tornadoes or really any kind of physical danger. We typically think to pray for protection from physical danger. But Jesus doesn't teach us to pray for protection from physical danger. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're reckless or foolish in how we live, but ultimately as Christians we don't concern ourselves or become overwhelmed by the prospect of physical danger, because we know that physical danger can only result in physical death. Now, physical death is terrifying for some, but as Christians, we don't necessarily see physical death as a bad thing. In fact, we know that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And so, quite literally, physical death isn't the end of the world for us as believers. And so, we don't necessarily concern ourselves with physical dangers or worry or lose sleep over physical danger, because physical danger can only result in physical death, which again is a moment of hope for the believer rather than a moment of dread. And so what Jesus teaches us to pray for protection from is not physical danger, but from the evil one. We need the Father's protection from the evil one, Satan. We need the Father's protection from spiritual dangers, because spiritual dangers can result in spiritual death. When we allow ourselves to come under the influence of Satan, when we listen and believe his lies and allow that to influence our behavior, and we start to enact sin as we act selfishly on our own behalf, regardless of who else it hurts, when we begin to damage our relationship with God and with others, that will result in a spiritual death, which has eternal consequences. And so the main threat to the Christian is spiritual dangers, the possibility of Satan's influence coming into our lives. And so we pray for God to deliver us from the evil one. Now, Satan is very good at what he does. The reason we pray for spiritual protection from God is because Satan is very good at what he does. I would argue he's more skilled at bringing us under his influence than we are at keeping ourselves away from his influence. But the good news is that Christ has won the complete victory over Satan, that Christ is all powerful and that Satan has no option but to run and flee when we invite Christ into our life. Christ is a total and complete perfect protection over our lives from Satan and his influences. But we need to pray and invite Christ to provide that kind of protection. So I don't know what spiritual influence Satan is trying to get in your life. I don't know if there's some part of your life that he's chipping away at, if there's some part of your defenses that he's starting to wear down. A couple weeks ago, when this all began, one of my first sermons I recorded online that you can still check out is a sermon about Jesus driving the demons out of a man who had what we believe to be thousands of demons living inside him. And we looked at what satanic influence could look like in our life and how we can invite Christ into that. And so if there's some part of your life that just doesn't feel right, if it feels like Satan is starting to get his influence over you in that area, maybe it's in your relationships with others, maybe it's in how you view yourself, maybe it's in how you view your circumstances, maybe it's how you view God. If Satan is starting to influence one of those areas of your life, I want you to take a moment and I want you to pray for the Father to deliver you from the evil one. And so we get to experience Christ's protection from the evil one. And we know that it's so simple to invite Christ into that. We know the solution to satanic influences is simple and complete. We invite Christ into our life. And so at some point in your prayer, I want you to pray for protection from the evil one. Pray that God would deliver you from the evil one. Because again, we are not powerful enough. My will, my self-control is not strong enough to keep Satan at bay. I need Christ to divinely intervene on my behalf and win the victory for me. And he has already won that victory. Well, I just need to invite him into whatever area of my life that Satan is trying to gain some kind of influence over. And so take a moment today and pray for God to deliver you from the evil one, from the one danger in this world that really matters, the satanic threats, the spiritual threats that come from Satan. And when we ask for that, then God will come through and he will win a complete and total victory over Satan in our life. And we can continuously be praying for that kind of victory, continuously knowing that God will always keep us safely protected because he, through Christ's death on the cross, has won the victory over Satan once and for all. We're going to start up next Monday with these studies again. We have one more line in the Lord's Prayer that I would like to cover, and then we'll be getting to start a new series next Wednesday. But that's all the time we have for today. I will see you on Sunday. Bye.